I'm a little old school.
Yeah.
But today, I'm going to introduce you to CDs.
I know the perfect place to get a CD, guys.
Let's go.
I got the perfect CD.
That is not the CD that I actually have in mind.
Why are you hating on Bruno Mars?
I'm not hating, that's just not the CD I have in mind.
Okay.
Then show us what you had in mind.
Okay, put that back. And let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The kind of CD I'm talking about can only be found there. And that CD is called a certificate of deposit. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
A CD, what we call it is a certificate of deposit. It's like a savings account that we have here at the credit union, but it has a specific, what we call a term or a time frame that you can operate with it. So in this case, what we were talking about is like a 1-year certificate. There are other years that you can do. You can do 2 years or 3 years, 4 or 5, as long as you like. But a lot of people tend to go with a 1-year certificate because it's a good amount of time to save some money. It does typically earn more interest, and that's basically money that we give to you for putting money into it, and it earns more interest than savings accounts. So that's why it's so much better to put money into these certificates, because then you get more money back. One question. You have a question?
No.
What's your
What's
question?
your question?
Learning fast.
What?
Learning fast.
What do you say?
I don't know.
No.
Learning fast.
Yes.
Is a CD something that you like put money in or something?
Yes, it is. You put money into it. Now, with certificates or CDs, you can put money into them as often as you like, but you can't take money out of it until a certain period of time. So, you can put money in there as you like to save it, but when we talk about them being 1 year long, you have to wait that 1 year before you can take that money back out. So that's the difference, is that you're restricted with that. Whereas a normal savings, you can put money in and then you can take it out whenever you want. So that's the biggest difference between those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens to the money when the time is expires?
So when the time expires, you still have that money that you put in there, plus whatever interest that you earned. And so the interest, what we do is we will pay a certain percentage to you based on how much money you put in there. So let's say if you had 1% interest rate on a certificate and you put $100 in there, after that 1 year, we're going to give you an extra $1 on top of that, because that's 1% of what you put in there. So you'd have $101 when you're all done.
I have a question. So is there a difference between savings and a certificate of deposit? Like, do you have to take out like sections, or can you all take it out at once if you wanted to?
With the savings or the certificate?
With both. Is there like a difference?
So a savings is what you call liquid money. And we call it liquid money is because you can put in as much as often as you'd like, and you can take out as much and as often as you'd like. So you could put in $5 today, take it back out tomorrow. Put $25 in tomorrow, take a little bit out this day and then that day. You can do however you want with the savings account. The certificate, however, you put all that money in there at once, and then you take it all back out after that 1 year. So it's kind of just one process.
So how do you put money in the CD?
So the putting money into a certificate is typically done here in a branch. And so you'd either bring in cash or checks or whatever money that you have, and you would just tell one of the tellers up front that you want to put it into a CD.
And so you mentioned something earlier, so we take out a CD today, and then next month I could put more money into it, and then the next month I could put
So
more money into
that
it?
startup certificate, the one that we were mentioning first,
Yeah.
that one has a special case.
Okay.
So that one, it does have a 1 year time frame.
Uh-huh.
You can deposit, you can start it off at $10, and you can continue to deposit to that certificate throughout the year.
Okay.
So you don't have to load it up with $1,000 immediately.
Okay.
But that's the only one that acts like that. a normal certificate or a normal CD that isn't that promotional one, you have to front load it with whatever you're gonna put in there for the year, and that's it. You can't deposit to those throughout the year.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but that startup one is really good because, you know, if you don't have the full 1,000 immediately, that's perfectly fine. You can start at $10 now and then slowly build up to that $1,000.
And that 5% is contingent on if you make those $10 per $10
Yeah,
the
you always
contribution
have
of it to
5%.
1,000
So
Okay.
yeah, if you only have five.
within that year frame.
Yeah. So if you put it $1,000 into it to start it off with,
Mhm.
after that 1 year, you're gonna have $5 worth of interest earned to you.
Mhm.
But if you slowly built up throughout the year, it may be a little less because that first year you're only gonna have, you know, the 5% of whatever you had in there,
Mhm.
and then 5% and 5%. So it'll build up to the $50, but you may not have it immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the penalty of money of the CD or something?
Oh, what is the
Yes.
penalty? Oh, that's a great question.
That is. So, you know how I mentioned that you really can't take the money out until that 1 year term is? That's kind of a loose rule. What you can do is if you're in a case of an emergency, maybe you have to fix your air conditioner at home, or maybe you have to repair something on your car, you can say, you know what, I need to take that money out early before that 1 year, and that's perfectly fine. But what we do is we will just add a penalty to you onto the withdrawal. Now the penalty isn't anything of the money that you put in there. What we do is we would just basically take back the last 3 months of interest that you earned on it. So if you earned $50 over the course of the year, we would just look back at the last 90 days of that $50 and we would just deduct that from what you've earned.
Okay.
But we'll never take the money that you put in there, like what you call your principal money that you put in, we would never deduct from that.
Okay.
Yeah. But
That's a great question.
It is. I usually suggest like try and not do that, but if you do, you know that that money is available in case of emergencies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
What happens when you take money out of the CD?
Well, if you take money out, you can either get it out as cash, or you can put it into like a checking account, so that way you can use it on a debit card. So you have options. You get to choose what you do.
An emergency is not an extra pair or 2 or 3 of shoes.
So for an emergency, if you wanted to take money out of CD, would you be able to do that and like put it somewhere else?
Yeah, you can. Like if you needed to take money out of the CD, you would just come in here, like what we talked about with the deposit. You would go up to a teller and let them know you want to go ahead and withdraw it back out, and they'll ask if you wanted to withdraw it out as cash, or if you wanted to put it into a checking or a savings account.
So maybe what she was asking is, if you do withdraw from a CD,
Yeah.
can you do a portion of it, or do you have to take out the
Oh,
entire
yes.
1,000?
I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah.
you can take a portion, you don't have to do all of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so if you have that certificate of, maybe you have $1,000 in there, maybe you only need to take a couple $100 out, you can do that. You can take out 200, and then that penalty is only gonna be the interest that you earned on that $200. So the penalty is even smaller if you do it that way.
Oh, that's a great question.
I have no
Hold
question.
on, let's see what he has.
When does blood come out?
When does what?
Blood come out?
I don't know. Blood.
I don't know. We're talking about CD. We're talking about putting money in the bank.
Money. How do you get money out?
How do you get money? How do you get money out?
Yes.
So these little computers up here, those are the teller stations that we have, and that's where we take all the money out. So
Can't see.
Oh, you can see the
Through the blind?
computer right there.
yeah, it's kind of hard to see through
See
the
the
stripes
computer?
there.
See the computer?
Okay, I have a
Yes.
question.
That's where you go to take the money out.
So why is it a rule that you have to wait a year to take out the money from the CD?
So that's just how certificates are done. In this case, we were talking about one that you keep in for 1 year. That's just an example of one of them. We have other ones that you can keep in for 6 months, or for 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years. And the reason they do that is the credit union can pay more to you guys in interest if we know that we're gonna have that money here for a certain period of time. And there's a whole back reasoning to it that I won't get into, because there's a lot of it, like investing strategies and things like that. But basically it means the longer you have the money into the credit union, the more you get back.
Oh, I get it.
This last question?
What is the difference between a CD and a high yield interest ones?
Well, CDs are high yield interest. I guess it's kind of the same thing. What you're talking about is you have like low yield interest, which is going to be like your savings accounts, and high yield interest, which is going to be more like your certificates or investments. And so it just basically depends on like how much you're going to be earning off of there.
And so for the savings account here, what would be the percentage for the interest rate on the account here?
Savings, I believe it's about 0.15, but
Oh, okay.
let me double check on that one, because the rates have been actually declining since the beginning of this year, which is different because before this, rates haven't budged for like 2 or 3 years, so it's kind of different to actually see them change. Yeah, so the savings account, yeah, 0.15%, so less than 1%. So it's not very much on savings accounts.
And so then with our account that we have here, we can actually have it set up to where I can have money pulled from my direct deposit every month and put into the savings account.
Yes, you can set up automatic transfers.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
you
then-
can have it go from your check into your savings or from your savings into your certificate. There's, basically however you want it set up, we'll do that.
And the great thing to kids is that daddy wouldn't even notice it either. I wouldn't even notice it. Like, oh, there's $20 in there.
Now,
Yes.
savings still have a good purpose. I know a lot of people say, why should I do a savings account if the interest rate is so low? And it's really just the idea that you're setting money aside that you're not going to spend. It's really good to train yourself to put that money into a savings account, just so that it doesn't get spent like in your checking account. And then once you have enough money built up into your savings, then you can start looking at doing like certificates like what we're talking about, or maybe look at bonds or maybe something else. Yes.
How do y'all make CDs?
How do we make CDs? Well, there's really nothing to it. It's all electronic now. So a long time ago, back before you were born, they actually used to give you a certificate, and that's why they call them certificates of deposit. So you'd actually have a piece of paper that has all this written on it. They don't do that anymore. It's all just digital, electronic. Basically, we just say, we're gonna put this money into a CD or a certificate of deposit, and it's all done there.
I have one more question. Are you able to have multiple CDs or just one?
So you can have multiple certificates. In this case, the promotional one that we're talking about is called a startup certificate. You can only have one of those.
Okay.
But
And
you
that
can have other ones.
Okay.
Yes.
It's time to open a certificate.
Certificate of deposit. Certificate of deposit is what CD means. We just learned that right now. So it's not a CD with music on it. It's a CD with money in it.
We got our certificate.
Thanks for
watching our channel.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Bye!